Today's is the second week in the 7 series training. Last week we talked specifically about the 4 key functions. Wow. So we talked a bit about the dashboard, and then we went over right here and started a conversation about the 4 key functions. Today we're going to discuss the organization chart. So I'm going to talk about technically how you use the chart, how to organize it, how to move it around. That isn't very complicated and won't take very long. So the majority of the time we're going to spend on how to use the chart as a strategy tool. So how to build it so that it helps you with the scaling of your business, it helps you with the organization of your business. And then we're going to end today with a library process. And the theme of this quarter's technical training is management. And more importantly, how to make sure or how to insist or how to require your employees to use processes, which is the backbone of all of this. If your people aren't following the documentation you're creating, if your managers aren't training your employees with that documentation, then everything we're talking about and all the work you spend on this is going to be for naught, because it's just not going to be used. So this today's library process that we're going to go over is kind of one of the keystones of that, making sure that employees are using processes. So just as a recap, the 4 key functions is a place where all of the processes are listed. So every process you build in TouchStone is in one of these 4 key functions: guiding, getting, running, doing. They're organized into categories like management, board meetings. So each of these 4 key functions has sub-functions or categories. I always like to show this whenever I'm here. So I just hit this expand collapse, and you can see it collapsed all of the processes. And then you can click just one here to expand it and see what's in that. So the 4 key functions is a master list of all the processes. The org chart is a picture of your business structure. It's a picture of all the roles, all the employees. It shows departments. It shows how the functions of your business are organized within departments. Then how the 4 key functions here, the list of processes, and the org chart, the positions, the roles, come together is when you choose processes from the 4 key functions over here and you assign them to the boxes on the org chart. So that's what it starts to look like. Every position on the org chart gets assigned the processes from the 4 key functions that particular role or position is accountable for. So in the end, every process over here on the 4 key functions is going to be linked to one position or another on the org chart. Sometimes a process is linked to more than one position, like a managerial process, for example. It's linked here and here and here. So for every position or role that is accountable for that work, they get access or get linked that process. So it's like a circle in the way that TouchStone's organized. The list is here, the structure's here, and then the lists get assigned to the boxes. Just to further explain this a little more, when processes are listed on positions like this one, so this becomes this list of what this position is responsible for, and then you assign a person to that role, it is called their control panel. So I am, in this example, the manager of administration and finance, and every process I'm accountable for is been linked to my position on the org chart over here. And then when I'm assigned this control panel role and I click it, I then see all those processes. Now they're organized into groups using these functions up here. But every single process linked to that box on the org chart, the manager of admin finance, then appears here in the control panel. And then we can do fancy things like organizing them into groups. So it's not just a massive list, it's these categories all put together and very usable. Okay, so let's go back to the org chart. So to add, edit, or remove boxes, you click the little 3 dots in the bottom corner So pretty simple. So I choose the three dots in the bottom of this corner, and then here I can edit the title of this position. So this pops up and I can change it to whatever position title I want it to be. I can then also add a box. So all I did was click the little three dots and then I chose add. And then you can see this new box fell over here. And then I can remove boxes. So all the functionality, more or less, having to do with the naming of the boxes, the adding and the deleting of the boxes is always in this bottom corner here. Now, if I click a box on the chart like this one, I can also go here and edit the title. So this is just, if you click it accidentally and you meant to edit the title, just click right on it and it opens. About 98% of everything in TouchStone is click to edit. So if you're thinking, how do I change something? 9 times out of 10, you just click and it will open. There are some titles that are fixed, like you can't edit these here. These are features and functions. Underneath the title of the position, there's this field that's called the objective. So the title is the name of the position. And then the objective is the why of it. So why does it exist? What is it here to do? What is the result of that position? What is a simple sentence or phrase which explains what this position is here to do? So if you start to write these objectives and you're getting into like a paragraph of information, probably what you're doing is starting to describe the work of the position. And the work of the position doesn't belong here in the objective field. It belongs in the processes, which are listed below. So I'll show you a few examples of objectives. So here, let's go to bookkeeper. Bringing superior knowledge of generally accepted accounting principles and profound know-how of reporting activities to manage the company's bookkeeping activities efficiently. I mean, that's a good one. It's got a lot of like descriptive language. It reads well. You can do it this way, or you can make them really simple. You can just say the purpose of the bookkeeper is to ensure that all the accounting happens properly, period. So this is up to you to kind of come up with what types of objectives you want. What I think is important is that you make them. So make sure you do create the objectives, because it can be like a powerful statement which explains what the bookkeeper's here to do. Like, your job is this. And the more simply you can make that, I think the better, because it empowers people to kind of really know what their scope is. If you do these really well, they can also be like a headliner when you're recruiting for that position. And you can use it in your advertising. So let's go back here. So you can see, just because I clicked this and edited the name, it's still changed. You can also move boxes around the chart. So I could take this position and I'm just holding my mouse click down and I drag it on top of, not underneath or above, just right on top of the position I want to move it under. And you can see it throws it down here. If I take a whole tree, so this, in this example, this is the position above, this is the position below. If I drag this one over here and let go, you can see it moves the whole tree. So if you want to move a position that's in the middle, or you want to move a position that's on the bottom, then drag that individually. To move this back, I can take this and drag it inside of the box I want to move it under, and then you can see it throws it back here. What you currently can't do is reorder the positions. So if I wanted to take this department and make it the first department, currently we can't do that. It is something that's coming on the org chart features. So if you truly want to reorder the shifting of the departments or the order of the departments, then you'll need to rename the positions. Let's see what else. So deleting, or remove, you hit remove, you're gonna have one chance to kind of change your mind up here. And then if you say okay, then that position's gonna be gone. The consequence of removing or deleting a position is that you will have deleted the job description if you've created it. So when I click on this, this is what we call a job description. And it's really, again, just the processes from the 4 key functions that have been linked to this position. If I delete this whole position, they're not gone. The processes aren't gone forever. They're still on the 4 key functions. So I can remove processes from this job description, or I can delete this position altogether. It will be gone, but the processes that are on here are always here on the 4 key functions. And the only way to get rid of those completely is to go to the 4 key functions, hit the delete button, say, yes, I'm sure, and then they're gone. All right, so let's go back. We often get questions about printing the org chart. It's not super easy to print if you have a really large chart. You've seen me kind of dragging it around like this. So I'm holding my mouse key down and then I can move it up or I can move it down. I can also scroll it with the scroll bar. So if this extended past the view screen, the scroll bar would be activated and I could move it up and move it down. If you're working on a laptop and you've got one of the touch pads, it gets kind of wonky sometimes. So the best way to move the chart around is to have a mouse. If it is kind of zooming in and out and you can't control it and you don't have any option other than the keypad, if you just go up and refresh the screen here, it's going to pop it back to its original size. So if it starts to zoom in and out and go crazy because of your finger pad, then just refresh your screen and it goes back to the right size. I can also move it from left to right by going this way and that way. So printing the chart, the best way to print it is to use a snipping tool like so this is the Windows operating snipping tool. I think Macs have the same thing. So here I just hit new and then I'm just going to create a picture of it like that or just shoot a copy of it. And now it's, in the snipping tool, it can be printed through here. So I go file and print. Here again, if you have a large chart, you're going to have to either print it in sections, or if you have a printer that's got long paper on it, then that might work. But it just gets to be difficult when the chart is large. I'm not going to save this. Another thing you can do is you can zoom in and out. So I'm going really small here just by rolling my mouse, and then I'm coming back out. Once you get to a certain size when you're zooming in, you start to not be able to see the the words. So, but I can zoom it to like whatever size I feel like I can still see it as. And then again, I go to my snipping tool and then I can take a picture of it and then print it from there. Another thing you can do, just one more option is, and I'm just going to refresh this and you'll see it goes back to its original size. You can print it in departments. So I could roll this really big and then I could go here and again, use the snipping tool and then just take a picture of this department like that. And then I could print it in slices. This chart, the one I have, this size is not a problem to print. It prints pretty easily, but a lot of charts go way longer and way deeper than that. Okay, so that's printing. If you have a large chart, there is a search option right here. So I can choose like sales, and then it's going to bump the positions up that have the word sales in it. When I click it, it flashes and shows you where it is and moves you to that side of the chart. So that's only for people who have like very large charts, like 50 to 100 boxes maybe. Okay, so that's the basics of the org chart. So let's now talk about why you even need an org chart, like what the purpose of it is and how to use it. I think it's really important with any tool inside of TouchStone or any business tool that you use to really understand what its purpose is, because then that guides you in how you can refer to it and how you can use it. So what an organization strategy is, as opposed to just a chart. A strategy shows you the vision for your business. So it shows you your business in the future. So use this as a strategy tool. So one step would be to go and create a vision for your business. And there's great tools over here in the process library and guiding the business on creating mission, vision, purpose, and also creating a strategic target. So this vision for the future. So create your vision for the future. If you don't decide to do that, at least have in your mind how big you want your business to be in a certain period of time. So think of it 2, 3 years out at the most. People can see things in different industries, can see things in better ways. But for me, anything past kind of 3 years is a little hard to plan for. So think 2, 3 years out with your org chart, and then come up with a sales goal. So we will increase to $10 million by the year 2026. So have that basic goal in your mind. And then the task is to create an organization chart, which is a picture of that business in the future. So build it as a $10 million business, even maybe you're just 5 now, build it as a $10 million business. This is a really important concept for growing small businesses, because a lot of times what happens to us is things just start going, right? Like sales are coming in and you suddenly have this new lead source and you have to hire people and you're just scrambling to kind of get it together with this fast or massive growth. And you're not thinking about the organization of the people you're hiring. You're just hiring because there's a need. So what that creates oftentimes is inefficiency, people dependency, bad management. So the organization's strategy or chart can help you manage all that. And what I feel like is a pretty simple way. So let's go through a step-by-step for that. So let's imagine that this is a business double what you're doing now. Have that goal in mind. And in this exercise, let go of all the people and personalities and what's happening now. If you're a manager on the line, think about just your department here. Think about whatever department you're in and let go of all the people and the personalities and who's doing what now and who you just hired. Relieve your mind of that and purely think to yourself, if I had to reconstruct this department or this entire business anew, and someone asked me, based on all your experience, draw out this company that's doing $10 million, how would you organize it? If you don't let go of the people and the personalities and what's happening now, all of that creeps back in and it forces the structure of the chart based on people. So try to just drop that and think purely functionally, what's the best way for this organization to be created? Starting at the top here, I think this box is always important. This can be board of directors, it can be owners, it can be whatever you want it to be. Just don't delete it. And the reason is this box up here represents you as the entrepreneur, you as the owner, you as the chairman of the board. And your perspective and mindset right here is way different than it usually is when you're down in the ditches here, or you're even here, or you're even the president. And the different mindset is down in these positions, your survival mode, your what is my paycheck going to be, your technical thinking, your somewhat managerial thinking. And that's not the perspective of the entrepreneur, of the owner, of the chairman of the board. The chairman of the board or the owner's perspective is, how do I increase the value of this asset? Like, how do I make this asset earn money that I can take home in dividends or in net profit? I don't care about who's making what. Up here, I care about the value of the business, how to maximize the value so I can sell it one day or that I can live off the net profit. You can see that's a much different perspective than all these people have down here. So this is one of the tricky things about being an entrepreneur, a business owner who's working in their business, if that's you, and also working on their business or working to develop the business. So leave this box, even if it's just a reminder that you need to think that way or that you need to work that way. Below the owner board of directors box, there's usually this box. So this is president, it's CEO, it's general manager, it's managing partner, whatever your term is for that. Use terms in your organization chart that you're comfortable with. If you like CEO, COO, CMO, fine. If you like more easygoing terms like general manager and manager of this, then use those. So this position here is the person or the position that manages all the departments within the company in order to create or in order to meet the goals of those departments and the company overall. So the owners up here set the objective, they set the strategy, and then they implement it through the president right here. The president's task is to then to work with each of these three departments in order for them to do what they need to do in order to meet the goals that are set by the owners. So this is a strategic role to a certain degree. It's a managerial role first and foremost. So the president manages these three key departments, and you manage those in order for each of those departments to do what they need to do in order to reach the goals of the company. So these three people here, these three roles, are the president's main priority. How do I work with these people to then set the strategy and the work to then get the results through all the people below? So I'm saying this way because typically this position gets watered down because you in this position may also be this position. You may also be a salesperson. You may also be the bookkeeper. Hopefully not, but sometimes, particularly in a small growing business. So imagine this position to be purely that. Your result here is to achieve the company's strategic goals, manage the key departments. That's all you do. So starting from right to left or left to right here, sales and marketing department. I don't care what kind of industry you're in, this exists to a certain degree. You've got to bring leads in and convert those leads into sales. Some of you may be more operational fulfillment type companies, and maybe you don't focus a whole lot on sales. That's fine, but you still need some kind of representation here. Generally, probably 90% of industries need a full department here for sales and marketing. So these managerial positions should always be the head of each of these departments. Even if your business isn't to the size where you have a full-time position here, keep this box on the chart because remember, we're thinking and building the business for the future. So have a marketing or sales manager. Below that, there's generally three things that happen in a sales and marketing department. One is there's strategy. So there's marketing strategy, there's advertising strategies, like your goals and your analysis and who your target market is. Generally, that's done by the manager here. The manager does a strategic side of the sales and marketing. Then there is sales, which are these people here. And then there is advertising, or said probably in the correct way, there's advertising or lead generation, and then there's sales. So within this department, think first, what are your goals in the next 2 years? How many leads are you going to need to create? And at what rate will they be converted in order for the business to be able to grow in the way that it needs to? So it's marketing is somewhat of an art, but it's also a science because you can sit and you should literally be able to say, if you're thinking in a process-driven way, what are my advertising activities? How many leads do I need to generate? How many qualified leads? What percentage of those need to convert? Even if you have a long sales cycle, it's still the same thing. What number of those need to convert in order for the sales to be at the 10 million in 2 years? So consider what type of advertising positions you need. Advertising here, marketing coordination, social media, whatever you want to name those. Think about what are those lead generation activities that need to happen. And then how many salespeople and in what structure do those salespeople need to be organized in order to convert those leads into sales? So think about the math there. Also consider in your 4 key functions over here, the getting the business function. So all of those processes that you've identified that you need, because the processes are the things that create the leads and they are the thing that converts the leads. These are just the people who do that work. So consider what your formula needs to be, what types of processes for advertising, what types of processes for sales. Avoid the mistake of mixing the lead generation and the lead conversion together. Like, let's hire salespeople and then they should go and find the leads and convert those leads. You're mixing up results. So especially in today's world with internet advertising, it's a little simpler to think in this way, but what are the activities and the people that generate the leads? And then when those qualified leads are given to qualified salespeople, what rate do they convert? If you look at it this way, you can start to see the bottlenecks too. So you can think about the qualified leads here. And if they go here and your conversion rate isn't high enough, well, what's the problem? Is it the leads? And what's being passed to the salespeople? Is it the salespeople's process that's off, that's not converting the leads? You can start to dissect it in a process-driven way and not just in this this person's good at this and this person's not good at that. Think about it from a process point of view. So once you build your sales and marketing department, all these sales are coming in and now they're being dumped on this department, right? All these sales are generated, and then these people here have to fulfill what is sold on time, every time, exactly as promised. The operations, the production, the service delivery, this department then fulfills the promises that everybody's been making over here. So the key thing that this department needs to do is it needs to work efficiently and productively in order to deliver those services in a way that allows you to be profitable. So again, think the manager. Manager always is essential on the top of every department. Some you're in your industries, you might have two managerial positions here. You might have a service delivery and then an operations delivery or operations management position. There might be commercial and residential. So this could look a little more complicated depending on your industry. Start with the manager and then think, what are the key positions underneath to deliver the products or services that we're selling? Again, don't think about people and who's doing what, just construct those positions. So here's a few tips for an operations department. And it doesn't matter if it's service or it's a product. It's the same techniques apply. You see this level here. So I've got entry level here, and then I've got junior or mid-level, and then I've got senior. It could be apprentice, lead, and then senior. 3 levels I think is good. Not in all industries and businesses, but I like the 3 levels because it's easier to see. This is people have no experience here. You're just bringing them in, and then you move them up here, and then you move them up here. This is called growing your own talent from within. If you're in a professional services business, like you're a law firm or you dealing with something like a medical office, just because these terms are apprentice, lead, senior, you can have the same, levels. You can have entry level, mid-level, senior level. And the titles would be different, but the concept's the same. You hire people in here, and then you move them up here, and then you move them up here. Every box on this chart has processes that these positions are responsible for. So at the apprentice level, the entry level, here's the 5 things I need to learn how to do. When I learn those 5 things, then I'm going to move up to lead. When I'm a lead, here's the 10 things I have to learn. Takes me a certain amount of time to learn those things, but when I've learned those things, then I'm up into the senior. So as the senior, I know everything about this level, everything about this level, and everything at my new level. In some industries, the senior positions are the only ones who are delivering your products and services profitably. I know it's hard to take, but it's the reality of it. I think if you view it this way, then you're going to start to understand your own profitability a little bit more. Because it's often the case where you're looking at your P&L at the end of the month or the quarter and thinking, we had the best sales quarter of the year. Like, where's all the profit? Where'd all the money go? Why aren't we making money? And it's typically because of this whole scenario here. You get really busy, lots of sales are coming in, your marketing's working, and you take all of that new work and you put it on people here who don't really understand how to do it, or maybe here who've never really gained the experience of how to do something effectively and profitably. It's the whole dynamic of cost of goods sold. Like if people are running over labor hours, they're taking longer than it needs to take, they're screwing up with materials, things are getting lost, you're not gonna meet your gross profit numbers. And then in that dysfunction, you can pile as many sales on top of that as you want, and you're never going to be profitable. So this kind of strategy towards growing your talent can be really useful in that scenario, because I can hire people here at a certain salary. And then if I understand the processes well enough, I can time it and say a qualified person with the minimum requirements could learn how to move from apprentice to lead in 6 months. And then a person who's moved from apprentice to lead in 6 months, they can then move from lead to senior in another 8 months or another 6 months. So now I know I need a year and X amount of dollars to pay people until I get them up to here at the end of a year. So in some industries, it is that long. And I think sometimes we fool ourselves into thinking it's not going to be that long. And that's where you're looking around going, where'd all the money go? So think about your own reality for this. What does this look like for you to scale from within, to grow your own talent from within? If you grow from here to here, and then somebody quits right here or gets poached by your competition, that's terrible, right? And sometimes I think that reality stops people from growing their own, training from within plan because they see the amount of money it takes. There's this cartoon that floats around that I just love, and it's the CFO saying, "Well, what if we spend all this money on training and people quit?" And then the CFO or the CEO says, "Well, yeah, but what if they stay?" Right? What if they stay and you don't spend all that money on training? It's holes in the bucket. You're losing money anyway. You're losing it all over the place. You just can't identify where. So think about your reality for this. And TouchStone is phenomenal at this idea of growing talent from within because of the job description process idea. So processes here, processes here, processes here, and then through the dashboard, having managers be able to track training of each employee when they're here, and then they move here, and then they move here. Michael Gerber used to say that the best businesses create a game worth playing. The author of Good to Great puts it another way and says, how do you get good people on the bus? How do you keep them on the bus? The best businesses create a game worth playing. So another answer to this is be the type of business that your competitors want to come, employees want to come work for. Be the kind of business where people would love to go be trained up and then be sitting in this position. This goes back to the management idea that we talked about for this training series. Managers make a difference. So have a management philosophy and manage it within your company that allows people to thrive. That is a game worth playing. It's a place people want to be. So now moving on to the last department. This department right here, commonly called advertising, finance, general office manager. That's another title for this position here. This is like the office processes, the office positions. So these office positions are also referred to as overhead sometimes. So in this office department, the key here is to have a balance of positions and people running processes that allow the other departments to be efficient. So this department here supports sales and marketing. They support operations. They allow those departments to be efficient and productive. You often get argument between this department and this one or this one. And it's because these people have the wrong idea of what they're there to do. Their result is wrong. Their result is to make the other departments more efficient. So they offer services to make it so these people can sell more and these people can deliver more profitably. So typically in this department, you're going to have bookkeeping, finance, reception, administration, human resources, financial analysis, IT is often in this department. So these are all things that allow the rest of the business to be more efficient. If you don't have good bookkeeping, good financial management, good profit or good job costing, good analysis of labor to materials, going back to the estimate, did we do this on time? If you don't have that, then these people here just have no hope of meeting their gross profit numbers. They have no hope of knowing like how long has somebody been here and here and here, or what kind of things do you have in materials in the warehouse and what's been lost and what. So all of that, if you dump it on this department, they're not as efficient and they often don't do it well. So have really good financial analysis so that people aren't operating in the blind. Also, sales and marketing. if you don't know, if these people here don't know how many leads were generated and what those cost and what the conversion rate is and all that stuff, then again, we have no way of knowing, is this profitable? Is that advertising working? Also think of HR right here. Depending on the size of your business, it doesn't have to be a whole position. Sometimes HR is given to admin or reception or even to the office manager. It's simple things like recruiting and hiring, um, policy manuals, benefits. It's all these things that are not hard to do, but if you don't do them, it can really wreck you. We have a lot of great stuff in our process library for HR. Just one example of this, if you are going to hire people right here and you want to do this whole hire from within thing, you got to screen people and make sure they meet the minimum requirements and that they've gone through a vetting process so that you know to spend 6 months on that person to get them here is worth it. It's better to cut your losses before you've spent a lot of training dollars on someone who wasn't meant to be there in the first place. You might create a game worth playing, but if you hire the wrong people, then it's never going to feel that way to everyone else who's there. So good recruiting and hiring can make a world of difference. Okay, so build your future chart, have it be built for the future, and represent the dollar amount that or sales goal that you're going for. So let's say we've built this chart. Again, there's no names and boxes here. I'm sure, hopefully that's obvious. I'm not putting someone's name here. This is the customer service position. This is the bookkeeper. You never want to put a name as the position title. Having said that, once you've got your future chart, then think about the people. So let the people creep back into your mind and start putting people in boxes. So sometimes it's easy. I've got a salesperson, boom, they're there. I have a warehouse lead, they're there. I have the bookkeeper, he or she is there. Put people's names in boxes. Then try to work with the people dependency that may be happening. So how that looks is, let's say you really needed a salesperson and you hired a person in for sales and they're doing a great job with that. But since they're really good at social media, they're also doing some advertising. And since they're really good with CRMs and computer stuff, maybe they're also doing computer work for this department. And then maybe they do some customer service because they're really great on the phone. And before you know it, you have that one person you hired spread across the organization chart, like filling multiple boxes all over the place. It's a person who's really good at multitasking. They've got a lot of knowledge of how the business works. They understand how to do multiple things. They get along well with people. They're invaluable for you. You need them. What happens if you lose them? The thought is terrifying. So the way to start to work with that is to think, okay, what boxes does that person fill? They're a salesperson. They're also advertising. They're also IT. Look at it for what it is and work with that person to see what processes on their job description they're actually doing. And they would have not just one position, they'd have three, this one, and this one. And then work your way out of it. So create a plan with that person to say, as we grow next quarter, we're going to hire in an IT person or a receptionist. Then we're going to hire in a salesperson. And then you're going to be strictly advertising by this time of this year. You can even put hire dates in the boxes. So like here, I could go to this title and I could say parentheses and say Q3 2024. And so now this means I'm going to hire this bookkeeper in Q3 of 2024. And then I see it, on the face of the chart like this. So even if you have a person that's part-time doing the bookkeeping, but they're also sales and they're also advertising, create a plan for by Q3 of 2004, you're no longer going to be bookkeeping. We're going to document all the processes for this position and you're going to move out of that role and back to this role solely. Think about people who are spanning multiple departments and consider maybe doing something about that sooner rather than later. And the reason is it flies in the face of organizational design and organizational efficiency. So my result here is make sales, make sales, make sales. My result here is support, support, support. So make sales flies in the face of support, support. It's not the same kind of person and it's not the same kind of skill set. So it creates inefficiencies. It also really damages people because someone who's so busy, so overwhelmed, so many results, so many different people calling them, they're stressed out. They're really stressed out. Some people love that, thrive in it because they're like, "Ooh, I'm the special person." But deep down, it's incredibly stressful. So think about how sooner rather than later you can at least pull them back to one department. One more thing I want to talk about here is the managerial row. So oftentimes in growing businesses, you may promote someone before they're ready or before beyond their skill set. So you may have like a really awesome salesperson. They're so good. They're good with people. They're great. Okay, I want you to be the sales manager because you really work well with all these other people. And, I can't do that effectively. So I'm going to put you here. And sometimes what happens is it's an unworkable situation because you haven't trained them. They don't know how to be a manager. They've never been a manager before. They're not the kind of manager you really want if you're going to create a game worth playing. So, and to top it all off, they're still your best salesperson, but now they just promoted to here and they're still expected to be the best salesperson and manage everything. So now there's no time for managerial work and I'm sucked into sales and everybody hates me and it's just an unworkable situation. If you're having that happen, use the chart, the creation of this org chart as a catalyst or a way to readjust that. So you might say to the person, I built this org chart for the future. This is the managerial row. By the year 2024 or Q1 of 2026, I'm going to hire a sales and marketing manager. For now, I'm going to put you back down into senior sales. And then when the time comes and I've built the processes for this department, you can have a chance to apply for it and learn the processes. They're probably going to be relieved. The only thing that is an adjustment there is if you've made salary changes based on that, but that can be sorted out too. It's better not to have a dysfunctional situation as the manager. It's better for you, you're the president, for you to be this role and you to be this role and you to be this role until you hire someone who's capable, who knows how to be a manager, who has trained in management. When you're this role and you're also a managerial role, it's a good idea to compartmentalize as best you can. So you think results are getting new business here. When I'm in this role, I'm working on getting new business with these people and converting business. If I'm this role, I'm all about delivering on time, every time, exactly as promised. So you have to shift your mindset, but it's much better to have you in these roles than having someone who's failing at it. We're going to shift to the process of the week, which I'm going to show you here in a minute. But before we do that, there's a tool in the Guiding the Business library, which can really help with your organization chart of the future. So basically, this future chart is a picture of where you want to be. But where you are now is not there. And in fact, you may not even have can't even see how the money is going to be there enough to have full-time people in every single one of these boxes. So it's about planning for it. So a financial plan or a budget is something that goes really great with an organizational strategy. So what the budget or the financial plan would look like is you just simply have all of these positions in a row, whether they're in the gross profit area or the fixed cost area. You put in salaries for what each of these boxes make. Then this spreadsheet will then calculate the dates of the future that you want to hire like this, and then throw in that salary at that date. So then you can see what happens to your bottom line. So you can balance the growth. Everybody who's grown a business knows that it's a constant struggle between this department and this department. Because if I don't have enough sales right here, if I don't have enough money coming in, I can't do this. I can't hire people here and train them. I don't have the money to do that. If I hire people and train them and grow them from here to here and it takes 6 months, I'm investing in operations. And if I don't have enough sales, I can't invest. If I have too many sales, so this department's really working and I haven't done this yet, then you're throwing all those sales on a dysfunctional operational system, which is going to leave you unprofitable. So this is what I mean by the balancing act. It's like, do I hire and invest in infrastructure first? Or do I invest in sales first to have all the money there so then I can put it here? So it's this up and down. Ideally, sales start to come in. I know I've got the funds and enough sales for the future to take one person and grow them from here to here in a year. So it's a spreadsheet. It's about calculating it and making your best guess, seeing as sales come in, when you should hire, what's the critical path for that, and make your best guess. Otherwise, you're just in the situation of people screaming for a need and let's hire, and oh, I don't have money to pay that person. And that's just the way it's always been. So over here in guiding the business, there is a tool called the Employee Expense Estimator. So all you do is go to the library here, General Processes, and you'll find it there. This isn't the process of the week, so I'm not going to go through it in its entirety, but basically there's some spreadsheets here, and there's a step-by-step that I'll walk you through it, but this is the Employee Expense Estimator. Use the spreadsheet to evaluate your labor expenses as represented on your org chart. And then there's this org chart salary evaluation tool. So this gives you a link to a site called salaries.com where you can estimate those position expense of the future, and then you put it into the spreadsheet. So it helps you kind of decide with Q2 2025 comes around, what am I going to have to pay for an operations manager? So play around with these two tools and see if that helps you kind of making sure that your org chart makes sense. You know, this picture of the future, does this make sense? Are these too many positions? If I hit 10 million, do I have enough money to hire these people here? And then a way to evaluate it as you move forward. So let's go back here to guiding the business. So the process I want to talk about today is called one-on-one meetings. Now that may sound simple, don't roll your eyes. It's a very extremely valuable process. And it literally is that. How do managers have one-on-one meetings with employees to make sure that they're progressing, that they're going from entry level to that lead to that senior, they're on the right path for that they're being efficient in what they're doing, and that they're just doing okay. Remember, we're going to play a game worth playing here, create a game worth playing. So a manager needs to care about process, of course, and that they're learning those processes and that they're moving up in the organization, but they also care about that person as a human being. Are you okay? What's going on in your family life? This doesn't need to be an hours long a week. It doesn't. It could be really simply one half an hour a week or 1 hour every 2 weeks. So part of creating this is deciding what your schedule is going to be for it. So you can download this from the library, and this is called the one-on-one meeting manager. So the manager has one and the employee has one. The manager's process helps them to create these meetings and create agendas for them and have them. The employee one, let's go back here. The employee one also allows the employee to know the meeting's coming up and to use their own agenda form to bring things to the manager about how they're feeling and what they're doing. So I've seen some people, you need this one for sure. Whether you want to do this one or not is up to you. But this again gives the employee a way to bring something to the meeting, some kind of goals they have for themselves. So let's go back to this one. So this has a work plan on how to create an ongoing meeting agenda. It has an agenda for the very first meeting. We'll just click on that one. This is just a work plan, which goes through a step-by-step for this. Establish the logistics of the process. Who's going to be involved? How often is it? What's the duration? What's the location? I've seen this be successful with high-end law firms, doctors' offices, and also technicians in an HVAC company that have high school diplomas. It doesn't matter. There's no criteria here for who deserves a one-on-one meeting. Everybody deserves a one-on-one meeting. Everybody. The difference is the level of complication of that employee's position. So if I'm let's say an entry-level law clerk or if I'm a senior attorney, my one-on-one meetings probably would need to definitely be once a week, and they may even be 2 hours because we're dealing with a lot more of what's work that's going on, perhaps. If I'm a technician in a plumbing company, and I just started with the company, or I've been there for 5 years, and my job is to go out to locations and fix plumbing needs, my needs of what the duration and the frequency of the meeting might be less. Maybe not, but it might be. Where we have the meeting might be not in the office. It might be my manager comes out and has lunch with me once every 2 weeks. Or we sit on the tailgate of the truck and talk about this every Tuesday. Maybe the meeting's 20 minutes instead of an hour and a half. So you and your managers get to decide, what the logistics are. There's even a video here on, oh, this is my video on how to have the one-on-one meetings. So you can download all of this from the library. Down here are some documents that you can use. This is the one-on-one meeting scheduling tool. I think, again, some people have Outlook and you already have a scheduling calendar where you can plan this meeting out and have it on your employees' calendars. Other employees who maybe don't even use computers might benefit from something like this, where the employee's name's there and the time and the date of the meetings. The heart of this is down here in this custom form. So this is the agenda form for these meetings. The employee's name, I put the date, I put items to discuss, I put goals achieved from last period, goals from this period, any work related issues or personal issues that need to be resolved, and notes. There's also a simple form of this. So I'm on the more elaborate form, which we're looking at now. Here's the simple form. Very basic. So maybe this is what is used by a manager who is managing 10 people maybe, and the meetings are going to be kind of a different nature. I just have questions for the meeting, notes from the meeting, goals from last period, issues, and notes. So you get to decide, what these agenda forms look like, and all of this is customizable. There are other tools here like guidelines for an effective meeting, how to keep the meeting on track, what to do, what to say. There's expectations for the first meeting. So there's a lot in this process that you can go through and decide what your version of this is going to look like. So one tip about a library processes, the library processes when they first are downloaded are a lot. Like process has got a lot in it. You see to the left here, it's got all these things in it. Your job is to go and simplify it and make it work for you. So let's say you don't really need or want this ongoing meeting agenda form. You just think that it's obvious that the manager should know they fill in the agenda form, and that's pretty basic. Just go and delete this. Then let's say the first agenda meeting. Let's say you like this, but this part down here is just not something you think is useful. You could click it and then just delete that task. Let's say you get down to these forms and you definitely are like, we don't need this because we, have another calendar. Let's get rid of that. And then this ongoing meeting form, you don't like the structure of this. You'd rather use the custom form, delete it. Then let's say, oh no, I just deleted that, but I really wanted it. Just go here to deleted and it's there. You can restore it. But the idea is that you clean this up so that it really works for you, and so that your employees don't look at this and say, wow, this is too much. I can't learn this. I don't know what to do. So I'm going to go to a different, back here to guiding the business. This is a example of the one-on-one meeting process that I've cleaned up quite a bit, just to give you another reality of this. So I've went in and deleted most of this except for what I thought was critical. So here's a work plan for step-by-step one-on-one meeting, how I do it. This is for training your managers. And then all it is this meeting agenda form, just like that. And so this is pretty easy and straightforward. So how it looks to your employees is, once you've cleaned it up and you like the way it looks and you're happy with it, you can go, first of all, and assign it to your managers and say, hey, I want you to start doing these meetings, review this process. Your managers go to it right here through their control panel. So now I'm looking at all of my processes for the manager of admin finance. Here's all my management processes. I click it and they're all open. Here's that one-on-one meeting form. Click on it. This one's got a few more tools in it than the cleaned up one I showed you, but basically this is what they'd be looking at. If you had just that one work plan and just that one custom form, that's all they would see here. They go to the custom form, they click it before the meeting, they fill this out. They save this as the employee's name, they go in and put questions, notes from the meeting, goals from last period. Once they save it, they can print it and take a copy of this to the meeting with them if they want to. So the using of this is easy in TouchStone. And you're gonna maybe get some pushback for this. Like, this is too hard, I don't want to do this. But remember, the manager's role is to manage processes and to get results with those processes. So this one-on-one meeting idea can be the backbone of that, because through this conversation I'm having once a week with my employees, I'm checking in with them. How's this process going you're learning? How's this technical issue that you're learning been dealt with? How are you? I noticed you showed up late for work yesterday and it's happened a few times. What's going on with you? You know, why don't you tell me about it? Or you can say to them, we started in on you training on how to fix the faucet process. And then yesterday, we got a complaint from this customer that wasn't done correctly. Let's sit and look at that process together. Let's go through it. Let's look at the images and maybe we could figure out where you went wrong. So your managers are having these types of nurturing conversations. They're holding accountable. They're holding those employees accountable. I'm not telling him, well, it's okay that you messed up on that and just do better next time. I'm saying, no, let's look at this together and figure out where you went wrong. I'm also not mad at him and saying, I trained you in that. I told you how to do that 5 times. Like, what the hell? This just cost us, $10,000. I'm not that either. I'm looking at it cleanly and saying, let's go through this together. Let's talk about it. What's wrong with the process? Not what's wrong with you. What's wrong with the process? And we're communicating in this way. Sometimes it comes out at the end that 3 strikes and you're out. You mess up the sink 3 times. We went through this together. I'm sorry, this just isn't for you. More than not, we go through the process together 1, maybe 2 times, and then they learn and they have this aha moment. And suddenly there's growth. So the idea with these one-on-one meetings is that we're having these opportunities of managers twice a month, once a week. It all goes down to the end of the year where we have a performance review. So if I had not been speaking to my employees all year and I'm calling and telling them what they're doing wrong and I'm, just being a frantic, busy manager, if I sit down to do a performance review, I'm going to think about Jack here and I'm going to go, wow, I think he's been doing great. Or I think maybe he's doing this bad. So you're making it up, right? And you're filling out this form. Everybody hates it because you are kind of making it up. And then when Jack comes back and says, well, why'd you rate me as that? You're also making it up because you don't remember. If you do the one-on-one meetings, though, you have this record of everything that's happened twice a month, once a week. And at the end of the year, you can look through all those agenda forms. You can run a report and see them all and actively, clearly, and honestly talk to that employee about what they're doing well and what they're not doing well. And you have this connection and you're giving your employees the management that they deserve. You're creating the game worth playing. Okay, so I've got a few questions. This chat is like, the questions are huge. If I delete it, does it stay in the library? Let me just show you that. So there's two things we're talking about. One is if you go to a process, like this is performance evaluations, and if I go to a work plan in this process, say, or a checklist or whatever it is, and then I delete it, let's delete this. It's gone from the process. Like you can see that work plan disappeared. But if I click back on the work plan title here and I go over here, deleted, I'm going to see it right there. And then I could go and restore it. So now it's back in this process. So that's one scenario. The other scenario is that you delete the process completely. So you've downloaded it from the library and you decided, this process is not something you're going to use right away. You don't really want it. So I would go, there's two ways to delete a process. I can click it and click this and delete it. Or from the 4 key functions, I can go here and delete, and then I find it on the list and I delete it. There it is, delete. Now I just deleted that library process. Now it's back in the library. So let's say a few months later, I'm like, oh, we need to do daily huddles. I know they had a process for that. You go to the library, general processes, and there it is. So a library process will go back into the library if you delete it. A tool within a process, like a work plan or a checklist or whatnot, that deleted tool stays in the process itself, and you can always go back and restore it. Anything else? Looks like that's it. Okay, so here's the fun part. Next week, we've had a scheduling issue and there's not going to be a training. So you're all going to get emails about this, but next Thursday, there will not be a training. And then we will pick up again the following week. So we're going to make sure that we diligently send each of you an email reminding you of this. There'll be a notification. If you forget, you'll see when you log in. And then the week after next, we'll start back up and finish the 7 sessions. The next session, which is not next week, but the week after, we're going to be talking about job descriptions. So this is one of my absolute favorite things inside of TouchStone and my favorite managerial topic for that matter. So what we'll discuss is how to create the job descriptions. And basically, when I say job description in TouchStone, I mean the list of processes that this position is responsible for. So I'm on this position, and this is the job description. When you click a box, you go to the job description. So we'll talk about technically how to build these, how to think about managerial positions versus technical positions, how to link all these processes, how to verify that the right processes are on this position. But then we're going to talk about how to use job descriptions. So job descriptions are a management tool. This job description or this list of processes is what your employees see over here through the dashboard. So if I click on Jack right here, I see all of his processes. So this is a list of processes or a job description. This type of job description in TouchStone or list of processes is so phenomenal for employees. It's kind of like the backbone of good training and management. It's a list, a comprehensive list of everything that the bookkeeper is responsible for, which is a huge thing all on its own. But then once you've documented each of these processes, it's not just what they do, it's the how-tos of it all. The key here is to have managers who hold their employees accountable to this. They use it for training, they use it for guidance, they use it for redirection, they use it for ongoing training, and then they use it for innovation, the managers. If I'm not happy with my accounts receivable process, if things are going 120 days and uncollected, I need to change the process. I don't need to change Jack. I need to change the process. So that's what managers need to be trained in how to do. So if you have managers and you like this concept of managing processes, this might be a great time to pull them into the technical training and have them learn this. So that's going to be the week after next.